Well, thank you, Cele. All right, getting to that story as we promised earlier. Yesterday, the Parliament Portfolio Committee on Police supported Police Minister Bheki Cele's decision not to renew Robert McBride's contract as the boss of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, or IPID. Now, McBride then filed an urgent interdict to have his contract extended, and this follows Bheki Cele informing McBride in January that his contract will expire at the end of February and not be renewed. Now, McBride, however, hit back and stated that Cele's decision was unconstitutional, unlawful and invalid. And joining us now from our studios in Parliament is ANC Member of Parliament Leonard Ramatlakane. Mr. Ramatlakane, good morning. Thanks so much for speaking to us.
Well, good morning, Sakina, and the public, the viewership of SABC.
Mr. Ramatlakane, if we could perhaps start here. Now, there's been a lot of questions around the decision-making process and with who exactly the power lay to extend the contract of the head of IPID. Does that competence lie with Parliament, as in the Portfolio Committee, or does it lie with the Police Minister?
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Sakina, for that question. The power lies between the two. The other body would also consider the matter and make a recommendation, and the other one final make the approval and sign the agreement. In this case, the matter of the executive director of IPID was brought to the committee. If you remember, the Constitutional Court at some time took a decision as to what should happen in terms of the employment of executive director. So that matter was then brought to the committee, and of course, as you know, there was a draft High Court agreement giving the committee time frame in which to deal with that matter, and the committee was then seized with the matter from the last Friday, considering the reason of the Minister Cele's reasons why he feels that the contract should not be renewed. And of course, from that reason, we asked the executive director of IPID to file a response to the minister's reason, which he did. And once those things were received by the committee, then the committee was then seized with the matter and went on to ask for further information from the minister supplementary, as well as supplementary information from the executive director of IPID in order to inform, to evaluate those supplementary reasons and information and the report and document. I must say we had a pile of document that we had to sift through to consider the matter and to make findings, and of course the decision of the committee yesterday.
Regarding that decision yesterday, the Portfolio Committee, of course, recommending to the High Court that the McBride contract would not be renewed. But you've been accused by opposition party members of Parliament who serve on that Portfolio Committee of coming to this particular process with a predetermined outcome already in place. How do you respond to that?
Well, that's the opinion, and that it remained rejected. We were all members of Portfolio Committee. Obviously, we think differently. We had different views on the matter. And what we did, to approach we said we're not going to answer this question without considering and evaluating information before the committee. Hence this document that we have requested in order for us to look at the document, study the document, deliberate on the document, and of course make an observation on what we have, and then agree on the findings. I must say that throughout that process, the DA was part and parcel of the process. The only thing they didn't do, they stayed away from adoption of the report yesterday. But throughout these days, they were there, participated, provided their viewpoint, and all other parties that were part and parcel. So we reject that reasons. It's basically probably just their own political viewpoint and opinion. It will remain as such.
So coming to the reasons that were provided for not renewing Mr. McBride's contract, you stated a breakdown of trust between Mr. McBride and the Minister of Police, Mr. Bheki Cele. Now, can you just take us into your confidence and speak to us about this breakdown of trust? What exactly are you talking about?
Well, Sakina, I will just briefly say that we came to the conclusion that the contract would not be renewed, should not be renewed. And we evaluated the 5 reasons that we stipulated. And as you know, this is a matter that is now before the High Court. The High Court is going to deliberate and do under the review application. The reasons that we stipulated on the report, you know that IPID is there as a department of government, one of the government department, regulated under the IPID Act. Now, the IPID Act gives the obligations and responsibility to Executive Director, and some of those reasons are that he needs to report to the Minister of Police. And not only should, he must report to the Minister of Police. Evaluating that particular law and what we see that we have evaluated as the reasons provided and the counter reasons, we came to this conclusion or determination that there is a breakdown of relationship. There is simply no trust between the 2 executive persons. And in the interest of service delivery, IPID doesn't require that. IPID requires a smooth operation. It's an important body of the state to basically deal with the corruption that is there, and therefore the smooth running of it, service delivery is important. On that basis, we then came to that determination that relationship and trust is an important aspect to consider here. And the second one, we then said the function requires, in terms of the Act, security clearance. In our determination, and of course, including what the Executive Director said, that the security clearance is invalid, is expired last year, we find that it was also going to be difficult to suggest or recommend the renewal of the contract. The third reason, we felt that we have received a letter from the Public Protector, which was submitted as part of the document from the Minister of Police, with listed litany of allegations against the IPID, and we felt that it's important that those allegations are quite serious and they require some degree of investigation, that investigation will be better proceeding without it being hindered in that way. And the fourth reason, we felt that there were problems, huge problems with the performance area and agreement and signing of performance agreement and or existence of performance agreement, which is a measure of performance is by the Executive Director. And the fifth reason, I think we found that there was a problem that Public Service Commission found and made the determinations against I would think the management and relations with the Executive Director on the violation of policy and violation or injuring of the Constitution in terms of the harassment. That was a case that was dealt with this. Based on those 5 reasons, we felt that we were unable as the committee, not as an ANC, but as a committee of Portfolio Committee of Police, that we are unable to recommend the renewability of this particular contract for the next 5 years.
Mr. Ramatlakane, if one listens to the reasons that you've just provided, listening to the last one, for example, what did the Portfolio Committee then do once they became aware of those recommendations to ensure that Mr. McBride was removed from that position, as you would now want to use that as a reason for not extending his contract? Number one, you talk about the security clearance. why are you so sure that another one may not be obtained by him? Then there's the issue of trust as well. Is that a prerequisite for the Minister of Police and the head of IPID to coexist harmoniously? Isn't a healthy bit of tension between the two perhaps even desirable? I'm just putting those forward as perhaps some holes that can be poked into your reasons that you've just listed.
Well, Sakina, I think, of course, you're entitled to a view there in terms of the questioning. When we applied our mind to what was before the portfolio committee, unfortunately, we were asked by the court we could make two reasons. We could have come to two conclusions on the matter. We could have come to the conclusion of yes, let the contract be renewable and leave everything that is there in front of us. And unfortunately, we came to a different one. We came to the no. Even on the basis of yes, there would have been many people who have said, you've erred. And this one, no, people who say yes, we erred. People don't think the same way, Sakina. But under the, of course, considering what we had to deal with, let me just say that we evaluated 4 years performance of IPID based on the report that we have done as a portfolio committee, which was concerned that we kept raising that needed to be addressed. So that is there, it will be perused, it can be criticized, we'd have come to it, but all of those years, the executive director had received those reports and have to deal with those particular reports. That's why we kept asking them to come to Parliament. But as I say, Sakina, we were asked by the High Court in North Gauteng to make the determination and report what is our decision. And under these circumstances, extraordinarily, we have come to that particular determination. And that's, I think, all I can say. I can't, in fact, I can't say more than that.
Mr. Ramatlakane, thanks so much for speaking to us this morning. Wish we had more time. So much more that I wanted to pick his brain on there. For example, the allegations that were made against, or rather the threats as they were perceived by the Portfolio Committee from Paul O'Sullivan. And of course, then also Robert McBride taking this back to the courts, saying that he finds these decisions to be unlawful, invalid. So we'll see how this plays